This week, we're going to be talking about the week of March 13th through the 19th. It's going to be Venus in Taurus and Mercury in Aries. We are talking about our upcoming appearance on Expand with Chelsea before we answer a bunch of questions, and then we'll be getting into the week ahead. Mars in Gemini is squaring Neptune, the Sun, and Mercury. It's going to be bringing up an aggressive look into your psychological baggage. Jupiter's conjunction with Chiron continues to open the wound to your self-confidence for deep healing. Venus transits into Taurus, the sign that it rules, focusing on your intention to your self-worth and values within relationship. Also, Mercury is going to be transiting into Aries, urging you to be direct and authentic in your communication. Stay tuned.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Good morning, Scott.
Hi, Ingrid.
Damn, it is raining out.
It's
been crazy. It's been crazy
sunny
on my
where I
side
am.
of town. Dude, it was like bright and sunny and warm this morning, and I almost opened my windows, and now it's like a tornado again. Let's see. Do we want to start with, we had a really fun time with our friend Chelsea. We went on her podcast.
Yes. Expanded with
you.
Chelsea.
Expanded with Chelsea. Yeah, we had she invited
Expand
us on
with
her
Chelsea. Expand with Chelsea. Not expanded. Expand.
Expand
with Chelsea. Yes.
She has her own podcast that's very successful, and she's such an amazing interviewer, and I guess maybe I'll let Scott go into it a little more, but yeah, she is just an amazing host, and it's more business oriented. So we talked a little bit about North Node and how finding your soul's purpose can help you with your business. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you had a crazy look. And also mine and Scott's relationship, and how our charts and finding out maybe someone else's chart who you are interested in doing business with, how that can affect your relationship and how to work with each other's energy. I don't know, what else did we talk about on there? And then also, yeah, she's available on iTunes, Spotify, all of the platforms. We'll put a link in the bio. It's coming out either this week or next week. I'm not sure which, but we figure we talk about it both.
Not sure exactly when the interview is going to be released, but it's going to be mid-March, and if it's out, it will be in the show notes. As soon as it's out, it will be in the show notes. But yeah, Chelsea, amazing interviewer, podcast host. She is somebody who is fully living in her North Node frequency. She's a third house Capricorn North Node, and she is an amazing business coach, which is that Capricorn energy of helping you ascend to that next level. That's what she does. But the third house energy is communication. And for everyone that I ever do readings for, if you're a third house or a Gemini North Node, I always use the example of, you want to be like Barbara Walters, who was like the all-time greatest interviewer. And Chelsea is like right in there. I mean, Ingrid and I showed up and she just had like all of these questions prepped and was going back and forth between Ingrid and I, and we both felt very seen and heard, and it felt so good to just be interviewed by her. It was a really fun interview, and I hope you listen in and enjoy as much as Ingrid and I did.
Yeah, if you want to hear just more about, I listened to a bunch of her other podcasts, and it's very business oriented. She kind of started I think working at like a grocery store, and she was like, "How am I working at this grocery store? I want to be doing more," and had some ideas, and she actually hired a business coach to get her to the next level and was wildly successful in growing her business. In just like 2 months, she was at the point where she was making the same as she was at the store, and then grew it from there. And now she coaches other people on how to do the same thing, which I think is super powerful. Like you said, she's living in her North Node, and I think all of her, I listened to some of her other ones, and they were just really great. So if you're working on your North Node, if you're working on career, business, I think she's a great, her podcast or her as a coach are a great way to kind of elevate yourself. I think we talk about, career and achievement a lot, and having someone to guide you. I mean, when I was reading her story and figuring out what she did, and then thinking about you, Scott, and astrology, and how, I always wanted to learn astrology, but I bought these books, read stuff online, and I just couldn't really absorb what was happening. And having a coach, you, every week to push me and hold me accountable for the things that I wanted to work on is super, super powerful. And I feel like you guys kind of have a similarity in that way, where she kind of mentions like wanting to do all these self-help workshops that you buy online and little workbooks, and it's so much different having a coach. And whether you're wanting to up your astrology game or your personal relationships or business stuff, like astrology is such a powerful tool for all of those things. So I'm very grateful to you, Scott, and I'm excited to actually listen to more of Expand with Chelsea to, yeah, push some career goals along. You always hold me
Absolutely.
accountable and keep me elevated and moving towards something. And yeah, I think that, I'm not sure if actually you and Chelsea have something similar in your chart, but I kind of feel like you're both teachers. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I thought that was kind of a cool reflection I had on just sitting with you guys and your similarities.
Yes, we do have some similarities and some interesting connections astrologically. But like what you were saying, I think when you have that person who's like riding with you and holding you accountable, it's really helpful. Like you said to me like a few months ago about taking some agency for yourself. It's like it's up to you, but it's nice to have somebody riding along with you that's helping you um, get to where you want to go. And I
100%.
don't know too much about like what Chelsea does. I mean, I've looked at her website; it looks awesome, and just speaking to her, she is just so bright uh, and just sharp. And I imagine that working with her, she's just like on you and
Totally.
and pushing you to get to where you want to be. So if her coaching is anything like her interviews, it's like an A plus. So
I mean, the first thing I think I texted you right after we got off of the Zoom call, and I was like, oh my God, she's so smart. Like, she's just, yeah.
totally, you were so excited after the interview because you felt, at least what I was feeling from you, and maybe this is just my own reflection of what I was feeling, was just like so seen and appreciated, and she just had some really well thought out questions, and yeah, she's a great listener.
No, 100%. You said that at the top about, yeah, feeling seen, and I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, what I do, I guess, is a little similar. I'm not a business coach, but I'm more of a, helping you understand the astrology of what's going on. And that's what I do with the cosmic pathway. And that's what Ingrid is, I think, referring to with what I've been doing with her. It's like just living with you vicariously through your experiences and helping give you the perspective that you need in order to make the best decisions for yourself.
I think that having community is so important. And sometimes, I mean, in my personal circle, I do happen to have a couple people that really do hold me accountable, and we work on projects together, creative. And, I know that I've been lacking since I moved out and I live alone. I've been really lacking in having a community around food.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize like there's all these different relationships, and it's up to us to fill our life with the things that are important to us. So I've been meeting with my friend Gio about food stuff, and it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't have a business mentor or you don't have a personal astrologer. You can just go get one. You can go get one. And if
Mhm.
you can't afford one, you can listen to the podcast and,
Yes,
follow
exactly.
along.
So listen to the podcast, or if you can afford one, here I am, happy to guide
Um,
you through your life and help you understand what's around the corner and how to work with the energy.
and then before we get into the week, if we have any new listeners or if you just want to take your astrology to the next level, this podcast is meant to be paired with the basics of astrology, the astrology book we wrote last year. It's available in the show notes, either on our website, theweeklytransit.com, or if you go to Amazon, it's available there for paperback, or you can download it to your Kindle. And then go to the website, theweeklytransit.com, and go to the forecast tab. That is our blog. It's basically a bit of, well, first it shows the alignments visually so you can see what we're talking about if you're watching and following along with us here. If you're just listening, that's awesome. If you want some visuals, if you go to Spotify or where are we? YouTube, then you
Smash that
can.
subscribe button.
If you're on Spotify or I already forgot YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're on Spotify or YouTube, you can see our beautiful faces. And if you go to the website, the images that you see kind of flash across the screen, you can actually see them there. There's also like journal prompts. All the questions that Scott asks me are on there, and an overview for the week to kind of follow along with. I think that that's super helpful. That's how I have really learned the basics of astrology, is with the book, sitting along with Scott, doing this podcast. So I think that's been very beneficial. And if you want to donate to the podcast, go to the show notes. There's a support link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10. And would you like to thank our sponsees?
Oh yeah, our sponsors. Oh my God. Let's thank our sponsors. We got them here. Here they are. We want to thank Kendra, Larry, Jasmine, Brenna, Barbara, Grace, Janelle, Vincent and Michelle, Clarissa, Nicole, Aline, Robin, Cassie, Merdinas, Brooke, Ricky, Amaranth, Libby, Annie, Amber, Stephanie, Deborah, Haley, Janine, Carrie, and Catherine.
Thank you guys so much for donating to the podcast. It lets us do more of what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you. And if you don't have the money to donate, sharing it with your friends, rating us 5 stars, going to Amazon and rating our book 5 stars, any sort of reviewing
Writing
or
a
sharing.
review.
Any of that
Right?
is greatly appreciated. Yes, absolutely. And then I know we
Yes.
have some built up questions, astrology
Oh
questions.
yeah. We got such a backlog of astrology questions. So let's answer some of these questions here. Okay. This is from Carolina Figueras. I hope I said that right. Hopefully it's
Carolina?
right. It might be Carolina. Carolina Figueras. What about Libra Sun, Gemini Moon, Cancer Rising? I feel like my Gemini Moon is so messy and makes me feel never emotionally stable.
Oh, I mean
Yes.
that sounds about right, but
Yeah.
aw.
I would say for Carolina, like she's a Libra. So like Libra wants balance, harmony, peace. Cancer Rising, so sensitive around other people that she doesn't know, situations where she's uncomfortable, very impressionable. So because of that, it can create a lot of uncertainty internally with that Libra sun. It's already hard to make decisions when you're a Libra because you see this side, that side. Well, I don't know which one. And then the Gemini moon makes you feel like this is the one. And then you're like, no, that's the one. No, this is one.
Oh
No, that's the
no.
one. This is the one. And so it's like just you have to allow yourself the opportunity to change your mind. Just it's okay to change your mind. You make a decision and then change your mind and then change your mind back. And anyone in your life that feels like, Carolina's crazy. Okay, well, then that's not one of your people. Like the people that know you and love you and appreciate you are going to understand that you're going to really love something and then change your mind and love something else and then come back to the first thing and then be like, that's just Carolina. She likes to experience all different sides, and we don't have to get upset when she changes her mind. That's just who she is.
I think that's such a beautiful way to put it. I had a business partner, and he was a Libra, Alex. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I would be like, oh, he would always change his mind if somebody gave like some sort of a review of what we were doing. Then he'd be like, oh, well, they have a good idea.
Oh
Whatever we're
yeah.
doing is wrong. No, no, I have another good idea. And it was always like this ping pong, and I would get so frustrated with him and be like, why do you have to change your mind every time you hear someone else's opinion? Like it's me and you. It's not all these. Anyways, I think it was something to do with his Libra and possibly Gemini. And you were like, that's just how he, like, you explained to me how he is. And then I was able to just accept him for who he is because that's just how he is. He gets excited. He gets excited about the new idea and then he wants to go with that one. So just being accepting. And then also, I was thinking Libra and Gemini are both air signs. So maybe just
Yes.
calmly talking these things out with people you're close to or in relationship with. Maybe that's a good way to kind of maybe settle the energy a bit, or what things are good for air signs to calm them.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. I mean, just you want to be in conversation. And so let's talk it out and let's experience it. And then we change our mind and then we change it again. It's okay. It's okay to flip it around. It like you're gonna upset the fixed sign people. Okay, fine. But they're not you're not meant to be for everyone. Not everyone likes the same type of food or the same type of person or whatever. So I feel like we live in there's such a strong, like, the fixed energy is so strong, and it's like people, like, you always hear people say, I like so and so because they're dependable, I always know I can count on them. You hear that more than you hear, I like so and so, they're always changing their mind and I never really know where they stand. But it's about
You
really
know,
owning that.
okay, I have one of my girlfriends. She says she's gonna come visit me in LA 100 different times.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely adore her. We have such a great time when we're together. Most people will just get annoyed with her because every time she makes a plan to come here, I kind of just know in the back of my head she's for sure going to cancel the plan. Chances are 95% chance she's not going to come. But I don't blame her for it. I just know she plans too many things. She gets nervous. She just want her cat to be alone. I don't know. She has just some neuroses of committing to the plan somehow. And I could easily, can you still hear me? I touched
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah, I can
Sorry.
hear you. Yeah.
I have the obsession with touching the mic lately and I think I broke it. Um, but one of my friends is like, "Oh my gosh, again she's canceling." And I kind of for some reason laugh about it and I just accept her for who she is and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm like, "It's fine to cancel plans. It's not like I, did anything special. I just know to kind of keep it open." I'm like, "I'm going to be here. You can come stay at my house. We can go eat something. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like I took time off of work. Like, we can do whatever you want. If you don't come, that's okay too." And just the more we learn to accept the people in our life and their differences from how we want them to be, like, yeah, it would be great if every single person is so dependable, but like maybe that dependable person isn't as exciting and doesn't make you think about life as much. It's like, oh, we hear you, Carolina, and you're changing your mind. You're always excited about something new and different. And it's like maybe that somehow sparks something in us, our curiosity of our emotions and how we can actually change and not be stagnant. Like,
Totally.
we don't all need to be the same.
Exactly.
I mean, I missed the
Exactly.
indecisive queen over here
Be
and
the
just learning.
spice of life. Yes. Yes.
And then,
Okay. So,
wait,
what were you gonna say? Something
oh,
else?
before we move on, I was thinking that everyone, maybe hers is in Cancer, the emotions, the Gemini energy, but we all have Gemini energy somewhere in our chart. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe relating whatever we're talking about here into whatever house Gemini falls in. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah. Sure. Where is what house of yours is in Gemini? What
Yeah.
planets of yours are in Gemini? That will tell you where you might be most curious or
Yeah.
inquisitive.
So sometimes when we talk about a specific question, the way to relate it is to kind of find where it would be in your chart and relate it to
Exactly.
to that part of yourself.
Yes. Yes, that's a good note, Ingrid. So this question is from Mike Oliveira.
And thank you, Carolina, for your question. I thought that was a really,
really good question.
yeah,
Yes, thank you so much. So from Mike Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't. I hope that I'm saying this right. Okay, so my North Node is in Cancer in the ninth house. In time passages, it shows this is retrograde. If the North Node isn't a planet, then how can it be retrograde? Well, the North Node is generally always retrograde, and it's not a planet. It's a point in the sky, and it's an imaginary point that is calculated by figuring it out. Like, so imagine this. Think of the Earth orbiting around the sun, and there's a line. Like, you've seen this. You've seen like those astronomy drawings where it shows the planets orbiting around the sun, and the lines that it's like, it looks like a road that they're following around the sun.
Yeah.
So think of the Earth's line around the sun and the moon's line around the Earth. And where those two lines cross are the north and south node. The one behind us is the south node. The one ahead of us is the north node. And so that is where they are. They're typically moving retrograde. Sometimes they're moving direct, but ultimately they're always moving retrograde. That's how they work. So it's not a planet, it's an imaginary point, and it's almost always moving retrograde. Not 100% of the time, but almost, it's ultimately moving retrograde. That's why we're going from the North Node in Taurus to the North Node in Aries this year.
Well, I did not know that at all. So that was an amazing question. I'm wondering, when we talk about the North Node, is it somehow related to the intersection of our sun and moon, like our identity and our emotions being fulfilled? Is that somehow related to the North
Yes,
Node?
absolutely. Totally. Yes. It's your identity, it's your emotions. These are the nodes of the moon, so it's like, what is going to satisfy you at the deepest emotional level by following your North Node.
And then what has fulfilled you, your soul, whatever you just said in the past, would be your
Yep.
South Node.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Exactly. Yes.
Magic.
So then there's Danigo. So I think
Okay,
this
I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the names of the next one.
but no, this is like one word that they wrote out. I think it's Danigo Maliza.
Melissa.
Because it's Danigomezela. So Danigo Mezela. Danigo Mezela. Okay, this
Or
is
maybe
from
it's Dan.
It might be, it might be Dan Ego Mazela. I don't know, maybe, but it's Danigo Mazela.
Okay.
In reference to the Saturn returning, what do you think about Scorpio in the fifth house as your north node? Any advice? Okay, so this person is asking, because like we've talked about how your Saturn return is like, when Saturn returns to where it was when you were born, it's returning to see if you've followed the assignment, and the assignment is following your north node. Did you work on your assignment? So Danigo Mazela's north node is in Scorpio in the fifth house. So this individual is meant to be the king or queen of magic.
I was gonna say the keeper of secrets.
Yes, well, but you have to remember the fifth house energy.
Okay.
The fifth house energy, that's where the north node is. The north
Okay.
node is in the fifth house, and the fifth house is associated with the fifth sign, which is Leo. So
Okay.
Leo is symbolized by the lion. It's the center, it's ruled by the sun. The sun is the center of the solar system. The lion's the king of the jungle. So it represents, being the the king, the center of attention when it comes to keeper of secrets. So, yeah, maybe somebody who is meant to be a keeper of secrets, somebody who is meant to delve into the occult, the taboo, the hidden realms on planet Earth, but also to merge power with others, exchange
Ooh.
energy, share magic,
Do
but
you have
do so from a place of self and what is satisfying the self.
do you have some examples of maybe what uh type of like maybe careers or relationships that would work well in? Like the first thing I think of when I think of Scorpio is you, obviously, Scott, and kind of like a therapist, coach sort of vibe where you're learning a lot about people's, secrets and you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
keeping them, but you're also encouraging them. I'm not sure if that's, something that would relate to this sort of energy.
Well, that's why I do what I do, is because I'm a seventh house Scorpio North Node. But and so that's why, like, yeah, keeping secrets, talking to my clients, them sharing things with me, it's all deeply personal, and it's something that I'm going to hold on, not share with anyone else. But this is a different energy because it's fifth house, so it's being the center of attention. For me, it's not me being the center of attention, it's about me being in
Holding
partnership with someone
space.
else.
Okay.
What's it? Yeah. So I think of it as like, this could maybe be like David Copperfield or David Blaine. Is that his name? The
Yeah.
magicians. Like,
Hmm.
I think of like a magician, somebody who is doing this magic on
I
stage and everybody's looking at them.
I mean, I was also thinking any sort of even like a musician in a way that is kind of magic. Anyone
Musician
who's
or an
like on
actor
stage.
too.
Ooh.
Because the actor is somebody, like, you think of all the great actors that are Scorpio, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Ryan Gosling, Matthew McConaughey. There's so many great Scorpio actors because they're shapeshifters. It's like
Mm.
they're one character and then they turn into another character, and it's like the same person but they're playing somebody different, and they seem very different. So maybe it's acting, because that's that center stage, being the center of attention, that fifth house energy.
And then so maybe that relating that more to the collective for other people who are listening, like what part of my chart does Scorpio fall in? Why I can never quite get the question right. Which house do I
which
have?
house which house is Scorpio in
Yeah.
Ingrid's chart?
Yeah.
Is
So
that
I
what
can
you're
try to
asking me?
yeah, so then I can relate it to my own chart cuz I do
So
feel like I'm
okay,
like, "Oh, I have
so
some qualities of the shapeshifter vibe where I feel like especially at work or like in the restaurant or whatever I
well
can kind of fit
so
into any
think about it like this, Ingrid. So what is the house that represents work?
Capricorn.
That's one. That's achievement. But what's the other house?
Do work? Virgo?
Service, right here. This is
Oh, okay.
daily routine, health, diet, job. Where is Scorpio in your chart? Your sixth house
Virgo.
is in Scorpio, which
Okay.
is the house, which is the sign that rules
Oh.
sex.
Oh, you've told me this numerous
And what do
times
you
now
do
that you're
for
saying
work?
it.
What do you do for work?
Yeah,
You're a
sex work.
sex worker, and your sixth house is in the sign of sex and secrets and people coming to you, sharing their secrets, sharing their
Mhm.
intimacy. I'm here. My wife won't do this for me. Will you do this for me? It's like all that kind of stuff. But then also, like you were saying, even working at the restaurant, being the shapeshifter,
Mhm.
where you're one way to this table and another way to that table, and so on and so forth.
It's so funny. It's so hard for me to memorize my whole chart. Like making the book with you. If you're following along here visually, he just pulled up a little piece of the book where you can see the houses and it kind of is explained visually there. It's very much like a glossary. But as soon as you said it, like you've told me so many times these things, I immediately am taken back there. I'm like, oh my God, Scott's already told me this. And it's so true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it makes so much
Like,
sense and it feels validating being able to
there's
tap
Ingrid's
into
chart
this.
with Pluto, the planetary ruler of Scorpio, in the sixth house, meaning that you need to be doing something different each and every day. Your job needs to be constantly transforming and
I
shifting.
think, I mean, I guess
So
that's why I have always really enjoyed the restaurant and the club. It's like it is always different. You never know what to expect.
exactly. Yes.
And then I think we should probably move into the
Let's
week.
move into the week, and we can get to more questions next week.
These are all great questions, by the way. Thank you all for
Yeah,
writing them.
they're
It's
fun.
it's well, I'm learning a lot just hearing, I feel like I've run out of questions sometimes. And then, new people come in and have new questions and I'm getting enlightened over here.
Yes, I love it. Awesome. Okay, so this is the week of March 13th through to the 19th. And we begin on March 13th, Monday, where we're looking at Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, in the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries, conjunct with Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound. This is an aspect that we talked about at the end of last week that is continuing through to this week. So we'll kind of reset the table here. What this is the planet of expansion and the wound in Aries, which is expanding the wound to our insecurities, our self-confidence. This is a period where our insecurities are getting thrown right into our face. So what are you fearing right now? And what do you need to do to harness the courage to face those fears and to charge towards them, to be authentic, to be truthful, to be honest, to be real?
I mean, sometimes I think just having a reflective moment with yourself and when if you know that something has to be said for you to feel authentic, reminding yourself of what that Aries energy is and like it's not comfortable always to butt heads with somebody. Of course it's not. Like sometimes it can feel fulfilling, but that doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable. You have to go through that uncomfortable moment of butting heads with somebody possibly in order to express yourself. And that's okay sometimes. It's not always easy. We don't get everything handed to us on a silver platter. Not everyone's going to agree with us. We have these moments where we have to practice sitting through the discomfort so we can grow. And there's been so many times where I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to say that. I mean, I'm thinking of something in my life right now where I'm like, do I have to say this thing to feel like so my manager at work died. They're having someone has decided to raise money for I don't really understand for what. For his burial, but that's not very much money. And now they're having a car wash to raise money. I don't want to go to the car wash to raise money for his he had money. So I don't think we need to raise any money for anything. It doesn't even make sense to me. I'd rather go celebrate. Celebrating would feel fun to me, but why am I going to wash someone's car for free and donate the money to someone who's dead?
Yeah.
Usually if someone has a wife or a kid, that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, I think they're just raising money because that's what they're like, I don't know what to do in this case. Like, my friend passed away. I guess I'm supposed to like do something. So they picked raising money to like, as an outlet to try to help in some way and show support for this person that left because they don't know what to do. But I feel like I have to say, I already kind of said it, but I feel like I really have to say, what's the point of raising this money for someone who's dead? We don't need to pay for his funeral. This doesn't even make any sense. I'm not going to a car wash for free. I'm not going to wash someone's car. That's not happening for me. So I don't know. I feel like that's something that's just lingering in the back of my mind where I'm just like, I don't want to have to say that. And I feel like it might affect our friendship or possibly everyone's view of me at work because I'm not coming to the thing to support the thing that I don't really believe in.
This is such an interesting point, though, because this is, I know your story, what you're talking about is unique to you, but I have to imagine that there's people out there that can relate to this scenario because there is sort of this group mentality where, well, you have a couple strong voices that coerce everybody else in the group to do what the two people that have the strong voice want to do, and
Yeah.
any dissenting voice is an asshole, is a piece of shit, and it's like, when actually maybe there's more people in the group that actually feel like you but are too afraid to say something because they don't want to be the asshole. So
Yeah. I'm like, I want to be compassionate, which I mean, I can just express, with my words. I want to be compassionate, but it just doesn't make sense for me. But I think, even just thinking to, a couple of years ago, I don't know if we even want to leave this on the podcast, but like the vaccines and the shutdowns and the judgment and the harassment that was happening. And now it's kind of coming to light that maybe that wasn't everybody that thought that way,
mhm.
and that compassion and understanding and people actually saying their truth from the beginning could have been very helpful, but everybody was too scared or too like bullied or too whatever
Yeah,
with
there's
this
been an
fear.
incredible there's been an incredible amount of peer pressure.
Hmm.
It's been very childlike the way that people have been behaving over the last several years, trying to force people to do things against their will for the quote unquote greater good,
Hmm.
but it's not really for the greater good. It's just a few people that are
With the
have the
loudest
loudest
voice.
voice,
Yeah.
and they're intimidating the masses, which are then pushing back against the people like you that are saying, no, that doesn't work for me. So this is really what this aspect, this alignment is about. It's about facing our fears in whatever area they may be. Maybe it's the group, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's just walking down the street by yourself. But wherever your fears are, you have to face them now, and that's what this is about. And as we go through this week and into next week, you're going to start to see, because Pluto's going to be moving into Aquarius, and that's going to shift the group mentality and the way that we work with the groups. And if you aren't showing up authentically, then don't expect to get what you want. You're going to get bulldozed, and you're going to get pushed into a situation that is uncomfortable to you, but you chose to have that discomfort as opposed to the discomfort of me saying something and
Well,
maybe making some enemies along the way to not do what I don't want to do.
but in the end, that Aries energy ends up coming out. It's like we can stuff it and stuff it, but it's going to come out eventually. We can sit through a bunch of more discomfort of not saying what we want,
Mm-hmm.
but it's eventually going to have to come out. I feel like I've given an example. I think everyone knows that I'm a crier by now. Uh, I hold things in and then it comes out and I end up crying about something, and never, the guy that I see is always like, "What is happening now? Why are you crying? Like, why did you hold it in?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because I didn't want to like ruin the moment." And he's like, "Who cares? You're not ruining any moment. The only moment you're ruining is this one by waiting so long to tell me. I'm never going to get mad.
Mm,
Just say it, and that's always the lesson." And I'm like, "Okay, just say the thing, whether it's, someone you're really close with or it's the community or something. Like, you have to just say what's on your mind, because it's not going to go away by just shoving it. It's going to come out."
well, and it also depends on like where your north node is, like for someone whose north node is in Libra, you maybe want to be more graceful
Graceful.
or thoughtful about how you're expressing what it is you want. But for someone like you, Ingrid, who's the North Node in Aries, you just need to be direct. Just
The
come
more
out and say
direct
it.
the more direct I am, the happier I am with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cuz I feel good about myself for being authentic, whether I feel like during the shutdowns and everything in quarantine, I lost one of my closest friends because I wasn't willing to hide myself anymore, and that just
Mm-hmm.
created conflict for us, and it didn't end
Mm-hmm.
up working out. And it was like kind of a gentle ending, surprisingly, but all the moments where I was trying to hide, it just never worked because I couldn't totally be myself without like offending her all the time, and
Mm,
that was not a good fit.
yes. Wow, it's hailing here right now.
What the fuck? You just said it was sunny over there.
I know it was sunny, and now there's like literally
Oh my God, it's sunny here now. I swear to God, it's sunny. It moved.
It's hailing here. Like literally, like you can see rocks dropping out of the sky.
Fuck, this weather is nuts. As soon as you said that, the wind just stopped and the orange tree outside of my house is lit up with sun.
This is nuts. This
I
is
love it.
crazy right now.
I love the weather. Yay.
And what's crazy is I can look out that way and there's blue sky. There's blue sky over there, but yet it's hailing right here. Wow. What a trip. Okay.
I do want to say before we move on to Tuesday that we always put in the show notes time markers. So if you're feeling impatient or if you want to go back and listen to a certain day, like basically, I mean, I don't listen to my own podcast every single day. I mean, I probably should, but usually if I'm having a really good day or a really bad day, I'll go into the show notes and I'll just click on that day and see what's going on. So that's like a great way to just, either follow along day by day without having to scroll around or go back and check on a day when you were having a conflict or whatever.
Great note. Great note. Thank you, Ingrid.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along to Tuesday, March 14th. We've got Jupiter and Chiron still here, riding side by side, expanding that wound to your confidence. But then we also have this other alignment, which we're going to be talking about over the coming days, with Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict, in the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini, and Neptune, the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, and intuition, in the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. So this is creating some confusion over putting your thoughts into words and your words into action. Your unconscious thoughts connecting to your conscious thoughts. The squaring here creates a lot of confusion. So maybe there's something going on in terms of your inner world and the outer reflection of your inner world. It's not adding up. That's maybe creating the insecurities or stimulating those insecurities within you. And it might be causing you to want to act impulsively, but you might want to pump the brakes and just take your time rather than rush, because the planet of action squaring the cloudy planet, that to me feels like driving in the fog at like 80 miles an hour. It's not really a good idea.
I think that on a day like this, like you said, slowing down, like reflecting can be very important, because otherwise you're just saying or doing something out of like kind of confusion, and maybe it's like not matching. They're not matching. And so that's even more confusing when you start saying something and it's not coming out the way you want it. It's like if you sit and reflect, you actually sit with your unconscious and get a little bit of clarity before you take action and open your mouth. It's like, and I mean, it is still a square. So maybe just the uncomfortable part is you sitting with yourself before taking the action, and not, not wanting to sit in it, but just being like, okay, I'm having a moment of discomfort. Let me decipher it in my own mind before I share it with other people and maybe say or do something that is a little bit rash.
Exactly. Slow down, take your time here. No rushing through. Like, let's reflect on what's going on inside of us before we charge ahead.
I mean, even the same example I keep bringing up of like crying on the way to go to the hamburgers or whatever. It's like, I could have started yelling at him and, the day before and been like, why the fuck didn't you invite me to anything? Like, you don't give a shit about me. Instead, I was just like kind of sitting with it and maybe ruminating it a little too long, but being like, oh, I know what the issue is. I don't feel included, which makes me feel not important. And being able to articulate that to him instead of just blaming him, like, you don't give a shit about me. He's just like, that. I don't think he would take that very well, but being able to just articulate a little more of the internal, being more vulnerable about it, of what's happening, and being able to be direct about it is able to be better received and understood by the other person. So if you really want to have the other party hear you, you actually have to know what's happening up here first and articulate it properly.
Right on. Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you, Ingrid. Okay, so the confusion grows on Wednesday. March 15th,
Yay.
where the sun joins the party here with Neptune and Mars. So, again, if you're not taking your time and really reflecting what's going on in your inner experience and you're just reacting to what you're experiencing in reality, there could be some big conflicts coming up. There could be some big challenges. And
do you think that could be
and
like
it's
repercussions?
Yeah, repercussions. Exactly. There could be some repercussions for your actions. So just like this week, like everyone, just like let's dial it back. Dial it back. Let's not get too wild here. Let's really reflect on where we're being triggered inside and where that's coming from and why that's occurring. Like, why do I have this sensitive point within me that it is stimulated in such a powerful way by this external experience? So the external experience happens, something gets hit within you, and then you react without thinking, and now something has happened that you wish didn't happen. So
I mean, also sometimes it's kind of a blessing. Sometimes you just got to get it out. So if you haven't maybe been doing the work, you haven't slowed down, maybe you're coming back to this day with the show notes because you're like, what the fuck happened on that day? I had a blowout with somebody and now I've like ruined something. It's like going back to Monday, we're supposed to be healing that wound so we can express ourselves directly, but without being destructive. So that's just sometimes a reminder. Sometimes we just have to have these experiences of possible destruction to get out, work through it and learn for next time how we can maybe do it in a little more gentler, in a more gentle way so it can be better received without destroying everything around us.
I like what you said there, where you're like being direct without being destructive. That's huge.
And I think that's part of, I think, the fear is it's like, oh, if I say something, everything's going to be ruined. It's like, well, maybe, but also if you say it in the right way, maybe you can actually just express yourself and understand someone can understand you better without you burning something down, which is what I'm, kind of one of my underlying fears is that everything's going to be ruined if I speak up, or like the relationship or business partnership or whatever, if I say how I really feel. And time again, I think I'm able to, you don't feel like I'm at a point in my life where I feel explosive. And since I am articulating myself in a good way, like even last week we had a little tiff and it was just like, maybe we started off a little hot, but it's like we're able to explain ourselves without being mean or anything. And we're just like, oh, okay, that brings about compassion. Well, I don't want Scott to feel that way. I don't want Ingrid to feel that way. Amazing. I'm glad you were direct. I'm glad you said you're irritating me because I wanted to make breakfast and now I can't eat. And you know how I don't like change. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that because that's who Scott is. And I want to make sure he's nurtured. Like that directness didn't turn into an explosion. It was just like, oh, now we have an understanding because we're truly expressing what we need.
That's right. That's right. Love it. Love it, Ingrid. And the relationships may burn down because they may burn down anyway, or they're going to be transformed because on Thursday, March 16th, okay, so we still got Mars squaring Neptune. Now Mercury has joined the party. Yesterday it was the Sun. Today it's Mercury conjunct with Neptune squaring Mars. But then you've got Pluto, the god of death, the planet of transformation, in the cardinal Earth sign, symbolized by the goat, Capricorn, squaring off with Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, in Aries. So Pluto squaring Venus, that indicates some sort of dramatic transformation that is occurring before Venus begins transit in Taurus, which is the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull and ruled by Venus. So this is kind of like maybe the culmination point of the week to some degree, where it's like there's this tension, and then it pops on Thursday. And then Venus moves into Taurus, and that will hopefully start to bring some peace. But leading up to this point, what were you going to say?
When does it move into Taurus?
Today. So see, if you're watching on Spotify, or YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button.
Okay, you can't say smash. You can't say smash.
I'm sorry.
Ah!
There we got Taurus right here, or Venus in Taurus. So before it moves into Taurus, it squares Pluto in Capricorn. So some sort of transformation going on with your relationships. Maybe it's a breakup, or maybe it's the end of the way that the relationship has always been and the rebirth of something new within that relationship. But it's all coming about through this tension with Mars squaring Neptune, where our conscious mind and the actions that we take are squaring off with our inner world, our unconscious. Now Mercury is conjunct with Neptune, so the planet of the conscious mind conjunct with the planet of the unconscious mind in the sign of the unconscious mind, squaring off with the god of war, the planet of action, in the sign of consciousness, Gemini. There's just a lot going on with the mind. And then you bring in that relationship piece of Venus squaring off with Pluto, and it's like, okay, there's got to be some kind of change. And the change leading into Venus in Taurus is all about my self-worth and what I value. This is what's important to me. If you're going to be in a relationship with me, this is what I need from you, and this is what I'm willing to give in return. Does that work for you? What do you want? What do you need from me? What do you want from a relationship? What are you willing to give?
I feel like I literally just had this conversation of the relationship issues happening. And it's so like the only thing we can really do is decide, do we want this person or do we not want this person? Because, certain things someone can compromise for and certain things they can't. So it's like being able to accept someone for who they are, but being okay with having the discomfort of having that conversation. Is this something we can change? Is this something we can't change? If it's not going to change, how do we either work around it or maybe just move on? And, I feel like I had like an issue like last night, this morning about, well, one, I went out and I just felt like kind of like crummy and like not physically. I just felt like I went to the gym. I was wearing like sweatpants. I went out to have a beer and like a hamburger. And I was just like, I don't want to be out in public. I'm feeling annoyed at myself, kind of just, I need to take a shower. I don't feel cute. And so they're like, should we stay here? Should we go? I'm like, I feel ugly right now. Like, I got to get out of here. And they were just like, you look the same as you always look. Like, why are you panicking? But I'm like, I really wanted a compliment. That probably would have like, I feel like instead of a compliment, it felt like,
you always look this shitty.
Yeah. And I was just like, I started laughing because I was just like, what? That's not helpful. He was just like, he's like, we're always wearing sweatpants and your hair's in a ponytail. What's the difference? Like, nobody's looking at you. I'm looking at you, and you look. This is just how you look.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah, you always look like a slouch.
Yeah, and so like I was just like, I just started laughing about it because I didn't even know what else to do. I was like, dude, that is not what I was looking for. You just basically told me I look like shit all the time. He's like, that's not what I said. Just turned into this. We always end up kind of laughing about it because I feel like he's autistic, and sometimes he just says things that I just feel like other people wouldn't say. They would know you're kind of supposed to give a compliment. And he just doesn't think like that. And he's not saying it to be mean or to like put me down. It was just a regular observation of that's just a fact, which I do always look like that. So what is the difference? He's like, what's the difference? What's happening? We can go home if you want, but like, what are you talking? Anyways, it was just like this hilarious moment of being like, oh, things don't always align. I don't always get what I want. Yeah, I wish he was maybe like more romantic sometimes. Although, I have dated other people, and especially at the beginning, so many compliments. I don't want any compliments. I want you to actually like me for who I am. Obviously, we're attracted to each other, so we're going to tell each other all the time. I find it annoying and fake. So it's never been an issue. Like, I've noticed it, but it never really bothered me. Like, he says nice things to me, or I get recognized for my beauty in certain ways. But for some reason in that moment, I was just like, I want someone to tell me how beautiful I am. And he was just like, what? I didn't know that was so important to you. Like, And I was like, well, I guess it's not. I just felt I was just having a moment and then it exploded out and it just ended up laughing about not always being able to be what the other person needs in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of little moments like that with him where I'm just like, is this the right person for me? I don't really know. It's working for now. There's a lot of really great things that we give each other, but also being accepting of the things that maybe that person cannot provide. Today he decided that the way he shows his love is by being like utility oriented. He's like,
What does
"Can
that
I
mean?
like being of service in some way, helping in a practical sense of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, letting me use his computer or like giving me business advice or life advice or just like, you know, furthering my career in some way."
Uh-huh.
Um so somehow he was like, you know, organizing his house and I was saying how like my, you know, my house looks nice but then the cupboards are really disorganized and it makes me feel shitty, and he's like, how about I like, he's like, the way I show my love is like, can I just organize something for you, like let's go through your cupboards, like we'll go to the container store, like that's how I can show like my like my love for you is by like doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so being like, okay, well I don't get these certain things but these other things, he's just like, oh well, I don't know how to do it in that way but I can show you in the way that I know how. And that also, you know, that makes me feel like we don't always have the same love language, but
Mm-hmm.
he's just always willing to explain himself and be like, okay, well I can show you in like this other way how much I care about you because I want you to have like a nice space. And so anyway, just
Mm-hmm.
learning about each other and the discomfort that it brings up sometimes where you're like, oh, this might not be the right fit, like you're not doing things the right, whatever the right way is that I want you to do for me.
The important question is did you end up going out?
We were already out.
Oh, you were
That's
already
why I
out.
was having a bit of a
Oh.
fit. I just was like, I gotta get out of here.
Mm.
Well, I was like, I was gonna go home first because he's like, well, you want to go home first? And I was like, no, it's just like a whole ordeal. It's fine. And then I got out and I was like, nah, now I wish I would have went home and changed and felt like cute before we went somewhere.
So that's your Gemini rising energy
Oh, and then
of
something else
changing your
happened.
mind.
And then we went to the store. We were like, should we stay here for another drink? And then he was like, well, we can leave. It's not whatever you want to do. Nobody's here looking at you but me. And I was like, well, we could just go to the grocery store and get a drink and come home. Like, it's expensive to drink stuff here, anyways. Then we got to the grocery store, and I was just like, somehow we got to the grocery store. Somehow the consensus was never mind. We're going home. I had something at my house for him. I didn't really need anything. And then at the last minute, we're pulling out of the parking lot. I'm like, actually, I do want something. And he's like, you just keep changing your mind. What's going on?
Gemini rising. That's it.
And it just felt like a very chaotic 24 hours of this kind of energy where it was like, oh, I had something to say. Maybe I didn't work it out in my mind first. And then, like, I felt like there was like a lot of laughter, but then also like irritation and like anxiety or something.
Hmm.
Where I was like, "You're annoying me right now. You're so annoying." And he was like, "What did I do?" You know, like we're always able to somehow laugh about like the irritation, but it was just like felt very. I just felt very agitated.
Hmm.
But knowing that, not being scared to have those moments because, you know, maybe sometimes it doesn't work out and then maybe this person isn't in your life anymore, but I feel like the more I'm in relationship with people who can hold space for me, the more I realize that it's not that important if I have a bad, you know, a negative or uncomfortable moment with them. They're not just going to disappear, whether it's with him or with you or with like my friend that I do food stuff with, Geo. Like I was like, oh, I was kind of scared to tell you this. Like, I don't know. What about this? And he was like, oh my God, please always tell me. Like, even if I don't agree, like, I still want to hear your opinion,
Hmm.
regardless. Like, we don't always have to agree, but I always want to hear what you have to say because it's important that I know what you're thinking. So I feel like I have a lot of people in my life that are like teaching me that it's okay to express myself, even in these moments of discomfort.
I love it. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be authentic.
What a lesson.
Yeah. I don't have to pretend. I can just be me. So moving on to Friday, March 17th, Venus. Oh, you know what? But I wanted to say one thing about Venus in Pisces and Taurus, because let's give those dates of Venus in Taurus. So Venus. Oh shit. I didn't write that down. So let
Oh, I
me.
also wanted to ask, was those were were those examples that I was talking about? Did that like tie into today?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
totally. I think it ties in because it's about, we were talking about being authentic in relationship and transforming what needs to be transformed um in order to be clear about the values. This, when we're talking about Venus in Pisces, we're talking about values. And so, you're getting clear with your partner about what you value, what's important to you in relationship, and that's essential. It's important for him to know what matters to you in relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and what matters to you is, when you're saying that I I'm feeling insecure about myself right now, I need a compliment. I don't need to be told that I look the same way like this all the time when I'm saying I'm insecure about the way that I look right now. That's certainly not going to help me feel better about myself. You're basically saying that I look like shit all the time. So no, that's not going to work for me. But thanks. Try again. And
I don't think the thing is he's not going to change. That's something that's not going to change. He just always says like the most factual thing, and I have to like. There's other things I think can be changed, but I feel like this weird language barrier of the way his mind thinks. Like I'm sure he will say that again. Like it will
well,
just happen again, and I have to be able to laugh about it and know that that's not an insult. Like he's explained himself, and he's just like, "What are you saying?" Like I didn't say anything bad, and I'm just like, okay, like that's just not the person that's going to do that for me, and that's okay. He's going to come organize my house and go to the Container Store. That's how he's going to show me that I'm important. Maybe not telling me that I look extra beautiful when I look the same as I always look. And he's just like, you always look beautiful. What? Who cares if you don't look less beautiful because you have like a ponytail or like sweatpants on? You look the same. He's like, I
and
don't
that's the
understand.
compromise.
Mm-hmm.
That's the compromise, is understanding what it is he can offer you in relation to what it is you want in return.
Yeah.
That's the compromise. So like when you recognize, like when you're saying, I really want to be told I look beautiful when I feel like I'm feeling insecure about the way that I look, and I'm going out and I'm going to be out in public and I don't feel about the way that I good about the way that I look. I need my lover to tell me how beautiful I am. And when he tells you, well, you always look this way, you look fine, like you recognize that he is not being malicious in his in what he's saying to you. Like what he is saying to you is, you look beautiful to me now, you always look beautiful to me. That's what he's saying to you, but that's not necessarily how you're hearing it. But once you
Mm-hmm.
can understand that that's what he's saying to you, then when he says you always look this way, that's another way for you to interpret him saying you're beautiful.
Yeah, totally. I feel like he's also very accommodating. He's like, the only thing we could do to fix it. He's like, I can't help you, but why don't we just go home and you can change? Or like, what do you need to do to feel better? Like he's just like very factual. Like, okay, well, how do we fix it? He just wants to solve the
Mm-hmm.
issue. Like, how's me
Yes.
saying something gonna actually change the way you feel? But like, we can, if you want to go take a shower and change, if that makes you feel better, let's do that.
Yes.
But I feel like he's just like doesn't understand the feminine energy sometimes. Like the flowery words are just not his thing, and me being understanding and then open to having other ways to show his like appreciation and
Totally.
like care
I
in like
I
a
have I mean, I can there this is a similar story, like another example. Like when I was younger and had a roommate, he was dating this woman, and I would like translate for them, because she's
you're
like,
a
Scott,
great
could you
translator.
explain to him what I'm trying to say? Because like they were out eating one time, and she was eating a full on like burger and just like getting into it, and he was like, wow. He's like, you eat like a man. And she was just like, I lost my appetite,
Aw.
and it's like, because, she doesn't want to be seen as a man, but from his perspective, he's like, wow, like you can really, you know, you can eat like me and it's fun and we have this
Yeah.
connection because you like eating a burger and you're really getting into this thing. And he meant it as a compliment, but to
Yeah.
her, she's like, you're saying I'm just a disgusting, like,
Which is like her own
crude
insecurities.
individual.
Her own insecurities maybe about herself being put onto his statement of, yeah, essentially what he thought was like a compliment and something like
Yeah.
fun.
He's like, I don't understand. Like, tell her, Scott, like, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's not what she wants to hear. She doesn't want to hear that she eats like a man.
I
That's
mean,
not like,
I think sometimes there just is a disconnect between men and women, and some men
Mhm.
have more feminine qualities and some women have more masculine qualities. And
Totally.
I
Well,
think
and
that
you
sometimes I hear
see it,
about,
you see it in the astrology. You see it in the astrology. So, like my Venus is in Libra, which is the other sign. So Venus rules two signs. Right now we're talking about Venus and Taurus, but the other sign that Venus rules is Libra. And so that's why I have some strong feminine sensibilities, because the most feminine planet, Venus, is in the sign that it rules.
I wonder
So,
about my other male, I have a lot of male friendships if they share similar qualities. I feel like you can be very complimentary visually,
mhm,
like, and making someone feel like loved and appreciated with your words. I think that that's something that you're very good at.
mhm. Thanks, Ingrid.
Yeah, and I feel
Thank
like
you.
also my friends Gio and Brad and even Chris, they're able to very like they're very expressive with their words and their love and appreciation. And I think that
Mhm,
that's for me like, maybe I get all of those things from other people in my life where, maybe verbally it's not always coming from my romantic partner. He's like, I don't need,
mhm.
why do I have to tell you I'm here? Like, what else can I give you? I'm giving you everything. I give you my time and my money and like all these things. Like, what more can I
Yes,
share?
I know.
But it's so interesting just being able to be okay with not getting everything from one person, and I'm learning more about like my community and how important my other relationships are to my happiness.
Totally. Absolutely. And it's like not everyone is meant to get everything that they need from one other person. And so, that's something to think about with Venus and Taurus is values, self-worth. Is it important for me to have the one person that gives me everything that I'm looking for in a relationship with the opposite sex? Or, are there people in that can fill multiple areas here? It's like this person satisfies this need, that person satisfies that need, and so on and so forth. And that's okay. It all depends on who you are and your astrological code. And if you're uncertain about your astrological code, then contact me for a reading and we'll get to the bottom of it. But Venus is in Taurus, the sign that it rules
Wait,
from.
are
No,
we
we're
we're
on,
still on Thursday, Friday?
we're still on Thursday.
Okay, okay.
So it's in the sign that it rules from March 16th to April 10th. And the last time Venus was in Taurus was May 28th to June 22nd, 2022. The time that was April 14th to May 8th, 2021. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around. But for those of you that were born with key astrological points or planets in Leo or Aquarius, there could be challenges with regards to relationships during this period, March 16th to April 10th. Okay, now we will move along
It was a very long
to
Thursday,
Friday, March
everyone.
17th. What's that?
Oh,
That
I
was a
said it
long
was a very
Thursday, yeah.
long Thursday.
Yes. Well, Thursday is Thor's Day, which is the day of Jupiter, the planet of expansion. So it's an expanded day for us. And, look, there's a lot going on there. We're talking about 5 different signs and 5 different planets. Yeah, a lot happening. So is that right? It's 5 signs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. Yeah. So now we've got Friday, March 17th, where we've got Venus again in Taurus, now in a positive sextile with Saturn. the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority in Pisces. This is a planet that we talked about extensively in our last episode when it moved into Pisces. It's about taking responsibility for what's going on in your inner world. And then you add Venus, the planet of relationships. What are the conversations that you're having with yourself that's actually with another person in your own mind, where it's like, I'm not actually talking to this. I had an ex-girlfriend who was like, she's like, but you said this. And I'm like, I never said that to you. She's like, oh, maybe that was just something that I have a lot of these conversations in my head. Like, wow. She's a Pisces rising, so it makes sense. But
we talked about this in my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the conversations that you're having in your mind with your close personal friends and relationships? What is the reality of that? Are you showing yourself compassion? Are you showing those that you're in relationship with empathy? Thinking about your story with your partner, it's like, I can't believe he said that to me. He's a fucking asshole and this and that. And you have this conversation with him and you in your head, and it has nothing to do with the actual person that's sitting next to you. So expressing your values, being graceful, taking responsibility for your values, your self-worth in relationship. That is what this is about.
I mean, this just sounds like another day of maybe slowing down and reflecting of like what is in our unconscious and taking responsibility for what's up there. Like the moment of being like, well, I wanted a compliment. And like my values in the relationship, is it super important? Like to always get exactly what I want that I made up in my mind that he didn't even know what was happening. Like, well,
exactly.
He doesn't even know what's going on, literally. And I have had this conversation in my own mind and then got annoyed. And then it's just like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said something else.
Yes.
I'm like, oh yeah, I know that's not what you meant. Then you laugh about it. You're like, oh, okay. I really did have this conversation in my own mind. I just wanted a specific outcome and I didn't get it. And so we just have so much happening in our own head of our own insecurities. And like, we can't always feel good. And it's not everyone's job to make us feel good all the time. So being able to let that go and know that like sometimes you just have an uncomfortable moment and it's no one else's responsibility. It's our own responsibility to take care of ourselves.
That's it. What are your values? What's important to you in relationship, from partnership? And are you having this discussion, holding yourself accountable to let those that you're in partnership become aware of what is important for you?
Well, maybe if I would have on Monday, like we said, expressing something even though it's uncomfortable, being like, hey, actually, I know we just pulled up to this place, but I feel like don't feel cute. Can we just go to my house first instead of being easy? I probably should have it already had crossed my mind when we pulled up. And he was like, well, I can take you home first to get dressed. And I was like, no, it's fine. Why did I say it's fine? If I would have sat there for a second, maybe I would have been like, it's not fine. I was just trying to be easy. And now I'm annoyed at you for not complimenting me because I didn't go home and get ready.
Exactly. You needed to hold yourself accountable and saying, he is offering to take me home. That's really what I want.
Yeah.
So I should just say, thank you. Yes, that would be amazing. Let's go home. Let me change. Let me freshen up. Instead, what is the conversation in your conversation? Well, I don't want to be high maintenance and he doesn't really mean it. He's just saying that. No. Like, just let's take people for the words that they say and let's say what we mean and assume that the people that are talking to us are actually meaning what they say too. And if they're not and they prove otherwise, then that's probably not a good friend.
But that's also on them. That's not on me. Like I should have been truthful. I'm sure he was. He's very he's just always very honest. Like if he didn't want to go home, he would have been like, I don't want to do that. Or he's the one that offered. Why wouldn't I just take care of like if I was by myself, I wouldn't have driven to the place without getting ready first. Like it just was a random happenstance thing. It's like if I was taking responsibility to begin with, I wouldn't have had my own internal meltdown and conversation to begin with. Just take care of yourself.
Well, this next alignment is going to help us tremendously on Saturday, March 18th. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls of the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination, in the direct, authentic sign of Aries. So if you are having trouble saying what you need to say, this is the planet in the sign that needs to happen, where you're going to be able to say what you want to say, where it's like, yes, take me home.
Take me home.
I want to change. Thank you. As opposed to beating around the bush or saying something, well, I don't even want to. No, just be direct.
I created my own problem. So
yes.
Yeah, the being direct is such a great solution because it happens in so many other little ways in all the relationships. Because I love to try and be easy. And it always backfires. Every time I'm trying to be easy, I end up irritated. Mainly at myself for not just doing what I should have done to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
I love this
is
day.
going to help clear the air. And it's not just this day, it's March 18th through to April 3rd. That is
Yay.
when Mercury is in Aries. It's going to create conflicts and challenges for those with key astrological points or planets in Cancer or Capricorn, because Aries squares Cancer and Capricorn. So be mindful of where your planets in Cancer or Capricorn are. What degree are they at? Where is Mercury each and every day between March 18th and April 3rd? When is it squaring these points? Those are days where it could be more challenging to communicate. The last time that Mercury was in Aries was March 27th to April 10th, 2022. And the time before that was April 3rd to the 19th, 2021. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around.
And then I do want to say, I was thinking of that friend that I'm no longer friends with because we kept disagreeing. I feel like she's the exact person who I would be like, I don't want to go home, because if then I ask her to go home, then she's going to be like, you always need to get ready. Why didn't you just get ready to begin with? Or like some little smart argue, like some little tiff would happen. So then I would just be like, it doesn't even matter. I'd rather just go to the restaurant because I don't want to have an annoying tiff, because she's always impatient and annoyed. So I just feel like there's like lingering energy from my past where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to annoy somebody.
So you're reacting to her with your partner when that's not him.
Yeah.
And that is what this Pisces energy is about, is like clearing out that psychological baggage that I'm acting towards him because of the conditioning that I received through these past relationships.
Yeah.
That told me that this person doesn't really want me to go home and change. They're just saying that. They're really annoyed with me right now. So it's fine. I'm fine. I'll just go out. No. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Moving on to Sunday, March 19th. The moon, the planet of emotions, conjunct at the same degree in the same sign as Saturn in Pisces. So bringing that restrictive energy to our emotions. It's just like taking a hard look at what's going on in the unconscious, like you just did there. It's like, oh, wow, maybe the reason why I reacted to my partner that way is because of the conditioning I received in my old partnerships, where if I was in that situation, I would have been made feel bad for wanting to go home to change and freshen up before we went out.
And I mean, it was just a friendship. It wasn't a romantic relationship, but it felt very romantic in nature. I feel like in a way she was like a partner. Like we spent so much time together. It felt very intimate. It was like, it was an intimate relationship. So I do feel like a lot of these lingering things, like after I said it, I'm like, oh damn, like it was more than just like a friend.
Yes, totally. You weren't having sex, but you were sharing intimate parts of yourself, secrets, all kinds of things. And so because of that, you're having that same that frequency.
I had more arguments with her than any almost any romantic partner. It was just felt like a very much like a romantic relationship where we would have like these you aren't normally having arguments or tiffs with people, or at least I'm not. So like it was just very interesting. Only like, maybe your romantic partner you would ever get in such like a heated situation with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure like that was like my last, relationship before this one.
Yeah.
So there's all these little lingering things that I'm just realizing as I'm kind of sharing here on the podcast with you.
Wow. Fascinating. So some deep inner work to be done here this week, some deep healing, bringing out the demons, showing them compassion, integrating those thought patterns and memories with understanding, forgiveness, and love for yourself.
You
That's
always
what
help
it's
me with
about.
that so much. Like just being able to laugh at it, point it out, and be gentle with it instead of being like, well, fuck her. It's like, well, it's just those things just happen. And to be able to learn from those experiences and like not repeat the past. We're like, okay, well, that didn't work out in that relationship, obviously. So how do I fix it in this one?
Mhm.
And knowing when we're, being triggered by something from our past that has nothing to do with the person that's sitting next to us.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Scott.
welcome. You're welcome, Ingrid. Amazing. Amazing. Fun show. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our listeners. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.